Well, there it is. The next project out of the Grant Garage. It's an easy-go golf cart. It's an electric model, or at least, you know, it was an electric model, but it's missing a lot of stuff. It's a 1991, according to the tag on it. And I bought it a while ago, kind of thinking I'd make myself like a poor man's side-by-side. Just get something, you know, convert it to gas, maybe lift it a little bit, build some sort of bed on the back of it. And I finally found a power plant. Basically, any of the subscribers on my channel might recognize this from a recent video. The 84 TRX 200. Runs good, but it's got some frame issues, a couple other things. The gas tank was all rotted out. And it's just not worth fixing in that form. However, it's only a semi-auto, so there's no clutch to worry about. It's got reverse and a high and a low gear. And doing some measurements, it fits pretty nicely in the back of this if it has the right tires on it. So I think that's what we're going to do. So the first step is I'm going to take out all of this electric stuff because I don't need any of that anymore. Probably cut out some of the battery frames because they're pretty rotted out anyways. And completely remove basically everything that's the rear of this thing. This guy's gonna be a big friend of ours, this whole thing. Suppose we should get some electrical out of it. By some, I mean all. So that's where we're at so far. Pretty much all of this framework, a lot of it was pretty rotten anyways. That looks kind of rotten, but it's not as weak as it thought. It's not as weak as it looks. I've hit it a couple times with some sharp stuff. It's there. This stuff I might get rid of, but I'm going to leave it for now. Because it's not in great shape, especially those parts. These supports coming down might prove to be useful. And I also left the throttle rod right here. Because it's still hooked up, and I might be able to somehow utilize that. I'm probably going to end up removing it while I run everything in, but I didn't want to just cut it. It might prove to be useful. So now, I'm going to kind of get all this out. This section here is already basically out, and get the axle and the shocks and the leaf springs and all that stuff. First thing's going to be this guy. Look, there's just a plastic rivet over here. And yeah, a couple rivets looks like. Doesn't look like anything's actually holding it. Let's get that axle out of there, huh? I know, you think those jack stands can do it? They're only rated for, what, 6 tons or something? Yeah, 6 tons a piece. Let's see if those are as stubborn as a car is. exactly as stubborn as a car is. Which means it will be met with violence. The nice thing about these custom projects is none of this has to live. More than one way to introduce violence into removing stubborn components that I don't need. Alright, I lifted the back into the air. This entire thing probably weighs like 150 pounds, maybe, right now. Real easy to move around. So rather than lay on the ground, I just lifted it up like this. Got all this open space for me. And I undid the brakes. Come in here. This here is the throttle rod. Right now I just kind of have it zip tied up so when I move it around I don't drag. And same with the brakes. It's right here. I should be able to use the factory pedals still. Some of this metal here isn't real great. The frame should be solid enough. I may add in some extras, I'm not sure yet. But the golf cart's ready for now until I have the donor. Okay, so I guess the next step here really is I'm going to do this a way that probably seems like it's the lazy way, but I've seen it done, I've done it a couple times too. This thing runs and drives fine. It's just everything around it's failing. But Honda did the engineering for me. So I'm going to use as much of the frame as possible. It's already bolted in. It's got good engine mounts. It's shaft driven. They've got the suspension all figured out. So I don't see any reason to mess with that. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all the brake cables and stuff off of here. Get those out of the way. Get the wiring harness off the front. And I'm just going to basically chop the back of the frame. Remove stuff like the foot pegs and stuff like that. Chop that and then just weld that entire back section into the golf cart. Alright, the time has come. Die-hard Honda fans, you may want to avert your eyes. As far as where to cut, the bottom is pretty easy. Right now I have a broken spot in the frame right here. So I'm just going to do that on both sides. I'm going to just kind of cut this front tube coming up. Sort of just randomly for now. I'll probably trim it a little bit once it's in. Up here, I'm noticing I have an engine mount right here at this Y. And I'm going to cut it just ahead of that. So that I still maintain it for now. We'll see how it goes. Now it's going to look a little bit weird at first. I have these temporary tires on it. They are not what's going to stay on it. With these rims, they're actually front rims off of something. And I even modified the bolt pattern a little bit. So nothing's really going to measure in with them, and it's going to look real skinny in the back. But it's what I have to roll it around right now. So I'm going to wheel it back there. Now put it sort of where it's going to go. And I guess I'll start letting the body back down. I think I'm going to have to set the engine on something to do this right. So it's looking like that front tube that comes up in front of the motor should really be shorter. Alright, so I've done a little bit of stuff off camera, kind of just figuring out where everything fit, moving around. But I'll just have to show you what I did. Basically, I welded some 2x2 up there just to kind of raise it up a little bit more. And I bolted it down I was going to weld everything in place, but I decided I'd weld some, but still make it so I could unbolt the entire four-wheeler frame part of this, in case I ever needed to do any serious engine work and it would just be easier on me. Not that it's that hard to get to this. The exhaust might be a little fun to remove, but I just figured I'd still leave myself that option. So I got those there. It's bolted up in the front. There's a flat plate welded onto the top. It's not done yet. Let's see if I can show you. Obviously these have to have something done with them. But that tube comes up. There's a flat plate welded and it's just bolted up to the bottom. So right now it's only mounted there and on this channel here. And then I'm also going to put one somewhere across right back here. But as it sits, well, as it sits, it's sitting. The tires obviously still look really silly because, well, they're not the right tires. The front could stand to be lifted a little bit. I think I'm going to spin those rims around just to flip the offset. And I have another set of tires and rims that I'm going to put up here that's just a little bit taller. So it actually should slightly level it out a little bit. So I'll get those on and come back. The 4-on-4 pattern is wonderful because it's just so common. Now we just gotta see if those actually clear. Clear that way. Well, suspension not loaded, they cleared. Okay, so I'm getting ready to hook up some throttle linkage. I'm gonna be using the stock pedal off of the golf cart and the rod that used to go from the stock pedal back to the electrical unit I'm using. And I'm keeping this bracket right here that was also off of that. Because, can you see right here? Yep. Essentially, this used to hook up to some other linkage in the electrical stuff, and this hooked up to that rod. I'm still going to use this, and then I'm going to end up hooking my throttle cable from the engine onto this part. But I also have to make it hook into this bracket, which I'm going to weld down to the bottom of the cart. But first, I have to weld this washer here just to give it something to go up against, just because these holes aren't the right size. Alright, so we got it welded up. The welds look terrible. My welder's kind of been dying on me a little bit. It's weaker and weaker and doesn't really penetrate like it used to. A new one was supposed to show up today, but it didn't. So we are using that one until sometime when it does show up, I guess.
Which is frustrating because we
still,
ordered it for that.
It did its job plenty well enough. It's still hooked. So we're going to cool this off in my bucket of water, clean it up a little bit, and continue. Alright, so as you can see, I welded that piece just so I could bolt it into this. There is a nut on the other side. Now this here is solid onto that. This part here, I'm going to hook to this cable. I'll need some sort of bracket to hold the cable. Not a big deal, easy enough. And then down here, I'm going to hook to the that rod from the pedal, wherever I put it. Okay, this rod and that end. But right now it's too long, so I'm gonna have to shorten it. I'm even gonna have to bend it a little bit. So it's threaded right here. Can't really get the camera. It's threaded right there. That's what this goes on to. So wherever I do it, I'm gonna have to rethread it for that, but that's not a big deal. So I think I'm just gonna kind of assemble it, and I'll show you exactly what I meant by all that. So I've shortened up this rod a little bit. Kind of wanted to show you just a little bit of what I did. Heated it up and just bent it because there's about a 5-inch difference between where my pedal is and where my linkage is. This bar is strong enough, especially for the throttle cable has almost no tension on it. So it's not going to flex this on me. But because I had to shorten it, I now have to rethread the end of this, which is what I'm doing now. It was 5/16. So we're just going to put my comically oversized die on here. And just, you gotta work it back and forth, break the chip and such, but it's also a lot better if your vise is not complete garbage. But yeah, just kind of wanted to bring you guys in, just show you that part there. So I didn't want to miss any giant steps. So we'll see you when I'm back under it. So this here is the system that we ended up with. You see I found this piece of metal, bended it over, drilled a hole. This here is just a cable holder off of something. I have no idea what. Now, it's a little wobbly. It's welded down at the bottom. My welder was really not being cooperative with me. It's definitely on its way out. I need that new one. But it's holding. It's only wobbly up here. And it's not a big deal because there's not really that much tension going on this. So it moves a little bit like that when I hit it. Well, in fact, it moves that much when I hit it. But it works just fine. So, of course, got the throttle pedal. Just that factory one. The linkage underneath, which I'll go over in a minute. In fact, no, we'll do it the right way here. Throttle pedal right there. Then I'm gonna crawl under. I'm gonna have you hit the throttle. Let's see here. Okay, go ahead and hit it a couple times. See, it still has this linkage. Shortened it. Goes to that. And then you see I got the barrel nut. Just hooks to the throttle cable. Hey there, you can see my really bad welds. That's okay. It's my cart, so they can be as bad as I want them to be. And it's pulling the throttle. You can see, now there is some slack in there when she lets off the pedal, so go ahead and let off completely. There's a lot of extra here. And that's basically because I didn't want the throttle pedal to start too high. It was more comfortable if you started it off low and used that part of the adjustment. And that worked really well. But then I put a return spring up here just for safety reasons. And now that holds it pretty much returns the pedal all the way up. So I'm going to have to put a little block here just to make sure it can't do that. Not a big deal at all. I'm just going to do it off camera though, because that's the only thing it's doing is taking up the free play. So, throttle pedal. Throttle cable, throttle. So we got the throttle hooked up. So now we need brakes. First thing I did is I went and I just found a brake cable. I couldn't tell you what it's off of, other than it is absolutely a four-wheeler. Went and stole this thing off a different one. That's just like the handlebar adjuster. That's just to kind of give it something to catch in up here. Then this piece right here is actually from the golf cart itself. It used to be that the pedal hooked to the center part and then the cable going to each side hooked in one hole or the other. I used this little part here from one of those cables. Spin it here. I cut that slit, put the cable in, and then just kind of vice gripped it back shut. So the barrel's in there. So now I just have to secure this part here, and then when I pull, it will activate the cable. Right here will still hook up to the factory pedal. So when it hits the pedal, that goes for, I can't actually do it from down here, but when I hit the pedal, that pulls towards the front of the cart, pulls on this, it's held there, activates the cable. So this end, that covers it. This is the factory bracket. Get better light up here. This here is the factory bracket that held those two cables. And I have an 8mm nut right here that I cut a slit in. That way I can still slide the cable in. And I'm just going to weld that nut into place. And that's going to be what holds this little adjuster piece. Okay, well that's a terrible weld. And I can't even blame the welder for that one. That's a terrible weld because I made a terrible weld. But I can slide the cable through. Thread that into there. And then I do that, put my little pin back in. Yeah, don't look too hard at my weld, it'll make you upset. Made me upset. It will absolutely work as well as it needs to though, so that's all I really care about. Drop this pin in through the top, and when I hit the pedal, it'll move that whole assembly. Right now it moves a lot because there's nothing hooked to the other side. So we're going to go work on that now. For the other end, what I figured out is this thing that looks like a bolt. Well, it can't focus. Anyways, it's the end of the stock cable that goes there. So this is threaded. That's a head that you can use to hold that while you tighten the nuts on the end. And that used to be a cable, but I cut it off there. And I cut this piece off of the other end and kind of did the same with the front, where I cut the slit in here so that I can put the barrel nut through there and then just pinch it down to hold. And then my plan is that I'm going to put it like this, clamp it down, and I'm going to weld this as an assembly. So the cable goes into here so that when I hit the pedal it pulls it that way, and then this will hook up just the same way as it always has. So I'll of course show that as I'm doing it, but for right now I'm going to get this welded together. And it looks like that. Wow, I cannot focus. But anyways, that's what I did. I hooked that together. I'll go throw my cable in there. And then I'm going to hope that this idea works as well in practice as it did in my head. Because that's the first solid weld that welder's put out. Well, that's not... I keep saying that, and I want to clarify that I'm not blaming the welder for all of my bad welds. You know, sometimes it's just because I made a bad weld. The welder's terrible too, but this time it made that solid. This part will not fail. So now, might have to open that back up a little bit to fit over the cable. Yeah, gonna have to. Now here we are. Oh, come on. You can do it. There we go. So that's over the cable. So now when it pulls this entire assembly. Actually, that was so difficult, I don't even think that'll fall off, so that's cool. So that's on there. You can see that it's held in. Just like Honda did now, I have the spring here. And I have this piece, which goes through right here. Sorry, I'm filming with one hand and doing with the other, so it's kind of... Okay. Can't quite... Well, maybe if I hold it with my knees. Tighten that on. Then I can still use this as an adjuster. And that's hooked up. Got brakes. I took the parking brake off the top because it needed some extra return spring things on it, and I don't care that it doesn't need a parking brake for me. So that's there. So got the brake pedal, it returns. I know I've already been down here, but hooked up that clevis. And then I did add a return spring right here, but that kind of just made this little thing go a little bit crooked. So I'll probably come up with something a little better, but for right now I just have an old brake return. Well, it's not even old, it's brand new. But one I had laying around anyways. Just hooking from here to help pull backwards. And I can spin them. Can't spin them. As soon as I let off, I can spin again. So we have brakes. So I've went ahead and I've gone and done a lot of stuff, but it's a lot of little stuff. The boring stuff doesn't really make for good entertainment. One is just I routed the wires over there, made a spot to mount the CDI box, kind of ran some stuff around here. For right now, I just have this switch run through a hole that was already here, so I still can use my factory start button. I'm using the key that the golf cart used, so actually to shut it off, I have to turn this off to power down the electrical, and then this kill switch to shut the engine off. But it does work. I quickly I welded up this for the shifter. Obviously I don't have a knob or anything yet, but it does shift. Um, Ultimately, this thing would drive right now. The choke is just kind of through the front there, and it's where it'll stay. I don't have a gas tank either. I still haven't really found a suitable gas tank, so I don't know what I'm going to use for that. That's probably the biggest real holdup right now, is I don't have the gas tank. For right now, I'll probably hook up like the little IV bottle thing that I use for testing. And I'll have to cut a hole in the middle of the seat for my shifter. But other than that, this thing's pretty close to a test drive. All right. Oil change is complete. That's probably one of several. I have the seat sort of fashioned onto here. It's a temporary, but it'll work for a little while. I cut a hole. The seat was destroyed anyway, so I don't feel bad. So there's my shifter. And if I have to, I can still reach down. Well, it's down there for reverse and such. I have a gas tank right here for my, roughly 1/8 of a gallon or something, if that. Put air in the tires, and I'm going to drive this thing. All right. So there it is. Running and driving just fine. Shifts through all the gears. It ran like crap, but the video I took, you could probably hear that it wasn't running very well. And it was actually because I had the choke out and didn't realize it. So I did that, finished that up, and it's running good. So that was really the thing. We put the four-wheeler into here, running and driving. It's going to stick around a while, and I'll kind of slowly fix things up. I'll probably make individual videos for doing those things. Like, I'm going to put a bed on the back. I'm going to rebuild the seats to be something that's not the factory rotted out ones cut in half. Because, I mean, yeah, the shifter is there. It's just that stick. It also should have some, a knob or something. And that's currently my gas tank, which barely makes it down the road and back. So I got a couple things to figure out, but I think I'll make another video on the improvements. Right now, I have the very beginnings of the poor man's side-by-side. This is part 1. So stay tuned to the Grant Garage. Subscribe and you'll get little notifications and stuff on when I have the new ones coming out. And we'll see what I do with it. So yeah, if you like the video, be sure to like it, and we'll see you next time on the Grant Garage.